You know, when we picture the Middle Ages, our minds go straight to those towering stone cathedrals and epic castles. We see stone as, well, a building block, something you cut up, shape, and engineer. But for the medieval mind, stone was so much more than that. It was powerful, it was symbolic, and in a way that's kind of hard for us to grasp. It was alive. So let's dig in and see how that one belief shaped their entire world.
Okay, take a look at this. This is the Carolingian Emperor Lothair I from around 850 AD. Just look at how his body is almost completely consumed by gemstones. Seriously, they aren't just accessories. This image comes from a world where mineral wealth and human power were like literally fused together. It creates this figure of immense, almost supernatural authority.
What's going on here is this idea that some historians call a becoming mineral. For a ruler like Lothair, covering himself in gems was a way to transfer the qualities of the stone itself into his own mortal body. You know, its hardness, its rarity, its symbolic immortality. He wasn't just wearing wealth, he was trying to transform himself.
So this brings up some huge questions, right? We see the magnificent end result, but how on earth did they get all of that stone? And maybe even more interesting, what did they actually believe about the ground beneath their feet that they were carving into? It's this incredible story where amazing engineering meets an equally amazing and totally different worldview.
To really get our heads around their world, we have to go deep underground, into the massive, hidden industrial landscapes that powered the entire medieval building boom.
So, a perfect place to start is the Comant Quarry in Normandy, France. From the early Middle Ages on, this place was a critical source of the chalkstone they used to build all those great abbeys and churches along the Seine Valley. It was literally an engine of construction.
But here's the thing, this was no simple pit in the ground. Hidden from sight, the Comant Quarry is this vast, sprawling network of man-made tunnels that stretch for 12 kilometers. That's over 7 miles of galleries, all carved out by hand, deep beneath the surface. And the scale is it's staggering. The total amount of earth they excavated is over 1.5 million cubic meters. I mean, let that sink in for a second. This wasn't just some primitive hacking away at a rock face. No way. This was a systematic, highly organized industrial operation on a colossal scale.
So how did they pull it off? Well, the evidence at Comant reveals this surprisingly sophisticated blueprint for getting the stone out. They had repeatable, multi-step engineering methods to systematically carve up the earth.
So this slide shows one of their early techniques, what researchers call Method A, and it's really ingenious. Basically, they would carve tunnels around a gigantic block of stone while it was still attached to the wall. They'd support its immense weight from below with these small pillars, and then for the final, super dramatic step, they'd knock out those supports and the entire multi-ton block would just crash down to the floor, where they could break it into smaller, manageable pieces. It's a clever method, but as you're about to see, not very efficient.
And they were constantly trying to get better. This table shows the evolution from that early Method A to a later Method B. And just look at these numbers. Method A was clever, but it was incredibly wasteful. 81% of everything they dug out was useless rubble. But then, with Method B, which involved cutting benches, they boosted the usable stone production all the way to 30%. That's a huge leap in efficiency, and it shows they were always pushing to improve their technology.
But the engineering is only half the story, really. To truly understand their relationship with stone, we have to look past the physical methods and into their beliefs about what stone actually was. For them, the mineral world wasn't just dead matter. It was a realm absolutely teeming with life and power.
This quote gets right to the heart of it. A stone's value wasn't just about how pretty it was or how rare it was. Its true preciousness came from its virtutis, its hidden power, its ability to actually act on the world. A stone was defined by what it could do. And this worldview was incredibly specific. Get this, they saw a gendered geological universe. For example, a really brilliant, intensely glowing carbuncle was considered the male version of the stone, while the paler, softer-colored ballast ruby was seen as its female counterpart.
And it didn't stop at gender. Stones were not seen as static or eternal things. They were believed to have a life cycle just like any other living organism. Lapidaries, the books that describe these stones, talk all about their growth, their sicknesses, their old age, and even their death. It's a completely organic way of seeing the mineral world.
This whole belief system also allowed for different ways to represent them.
On the left, from a manuscript at Monte Cassino, you see stones as these pure, abstract, geometric forms, almost like they're capturing their essential DNA. But on the right, from a copy of Pliny, they're shown as ornate, decorative objects all ready for a jeweler. Two totally different ways of trying to visualize the same living essence.
So this belief in a stone's agency all came down to its inner power. And understanding this power is where their physical world and their metaphysical world really connected. The key concept, again, is virtuous. That was the word for the hidden power inside a stone. And this wasn't magic in some spooky sense. It was seen as an innate property, a kind of divinely implanted ability to influence people, animals, and even the elements themselves. And these virtues had very, very practical applications. An amethyst wasn't just a pretty purple gem. It was believed to literally protect its wearer from getting drunk. Beryl could help preserve and strengthen a marriage. The eagle stone, which was actually a hollow geode, was thought to help women in labor. And jet wasn't just for mourning, it could repel snakes and evil spirits. These weren't just superstitions to them, this was their natural science.
So here's the crucial takeaway. The hard-nosed, pragmatic engineers at the Quamont Quarry and the scholars writing about gems that could heal sickness or ensure love, they weren't in conflict. They were part of the very same worldview. To quarry stone was a feat of engineering, for sure. But it was also a profound interaction with a living, powerful, and animate Earth. And this leaves us with a really fascinating question, doesn't it? Today, we've mastered the geology of stone. We know its chemical composition, its crystal structure, its age. We can analyze it down to the last atom. But in gaining all of that knowledge, have we lost something? Have we lost the ability to see it the way they did in the Middle Ages? Not just as matter, but as a vessel of actual power?